Okay, civil rights in the 21st century. In my contract with America 2020, one of my legislative initiatives is to examine the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and see if there's any amendments or fortifications need to be made to ensure that, citizen civil rights are being protected appropriately. I've also got a legislative, initiative in the contract regarding parental rights, and I'll drill deeper into that on the discussion of education. But let's drill down into, civil rights here on this one. Okay, in the contract, I cited a Supreme Court case, the Heart of Atlanta Motel versus the U.S. It was a Title II case under the brand new Civil Rights Amendment, or Civil Rights Act, which, in part is you cannot discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Being a U.S. citizen's national origin. The population, those classes have been expanded since then, but that's the foundation of it. Discrimination, because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin is prohibited under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. All right, the Heart of Atlanta case itself. It was centered around the 14th Amendment and the Article I Commerce Clause of the Constitution and the Civil Rights Act, prohibitions of discriminatory practices that are codified in the 14th Amendment, and then how it affects interstate commerce. The Commerce Clause was brought into the case because of the motel's proximity to I-75 and I-85 in Georgia, and it was a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court. So, if a politician tells you that's not how things work in Washington, that's not how we do things, it's an election year. 1964 was an election year. The Civil Rights Act was signed into law in July 1964. The Supreme Court heard the case in October and then rendered a decision in December of 1964. 6 months. Things can happen. Things can happen fairly rapidly. All right, you said, well, it's a Title II case. Well, let's not get too far in the weeds, but just a brief excerpt from the Civil Rights Act 1964, Title 10. Let's see. It authorizes the resolution of disputes, disagreements, or difficulties relating to discriminatory practices which impair the rights of persons in such communities under the Constitution and United States law, or which affect interstate commerce. Okay, let's fast forward to today. Recent events. I'm going to cite a case, the Gibson's Bakery versus Oberlin College. I'm citing this case as an example of consistency of principle. People commit crimes. People commit civil rights offenses, not inanimate objects. Just like a gun doesn't kill, people kill. In this case, this Bakery versus Oberlin case, the jury found that the college and the vice president, who is also the dean of students, guilty of, one count or another of it was a libel case that was based on racist libels. $11 million and counting. It's gonna, they're still not done with the case. But so far, the plaintiff's been awarded $11 million. The college, an inanimate object, a bunch of buildings, was found guilty, and this vice president of the college was also found guilty, an individual, a person making decisions. Okay, this individual's, I don't know what the breakout of who's got to pay what is, but this individual definitely needs to be held to account. They made a decision. Now the college, The buildings, the tables, the chairs, the desks, the computer labs, they're not paying that. The students or the parents of the students are paying that through fees and tuition and whatnot. So consistency of principle. In the civil rights issues, the people making the decisions need to have their ox gored first. And if there's any balance that needs to be made to make the plaintiff whole, well, then the institution's going to be on the hook. And that's where, parents that send their kids to various colleges or people that vote for city council members. Another case, City of San Antonio and Chick-fil-A. Our state attorney general, Ken Paxton's filed suit against the City of San Antonio. There was a 6-4 city council vote to disqualify Chick-fil-A from being a vendor in the new terminal at the airport, the San Antonio International Airport. Chick-fil-A is headquartered in Georgia. We'll circle back to that in a moment. Okay, so you've got 6 members of the city council discriminated against Chick-fil-A, and it's a religious liberties case, civil rights, religion, that Paxton has filed on. Who's going to be on the hook for that? The taxpayers of San Antonio, or those 6 city council members, those 6 individuals that made the decision to discriminate? I think those 6 individuals need to be on the hook first. And then the taxpayers of San Antonio might have to make up some slack. We'll see. I'll be watching that. And the reason being is, with what I would like to do, should you folks send me to D.C. to represent you, make sure that the people making these bad decisions, whether it's a city council member, college dean, or a CEO of a corporation, those should be the people who are on the hook first. Disney in the state of Georgia. I haven't heard of any action being done yet, but Disney took exception. Mr. Iger, the CEO of Disney, came out and publicly took exception to Georgia's new heartbeat law. Okay, for Mr. Iger to disagree with that as an individual, he's free to do so. But as the CEO of Disney, he's not free to extort the state of Georgia regarding Disney's business relationship with that state. I'm a Texan. I don't know what Georgia offered up as far as tax incentives for Disney to do production there, but we know here in Texas that stuff happens. It happens all over the country. That's how states, cities compete for these corporations to come in and do business there. Interstate commerce. Congress has got a dog in that hunt. So Disney better take a look at what Mr. Iger's doing before they wind up inside of a courtroom over a civil rights violation. Social media platforms. I understand that YouTube made a decision about deplatforming certain content creators, and then within a week or so reversed that decision. I think YouTube saw the writing on the wall that they were going down a path they really don't want to go down. And I do not want to be, government regulation is a bad thing, period. But these social media platforms need to make a decision. Pick a lane. Are we a platform or are we a publisher? Pick a lane. Or Congress can pick the lane for you. You guys can do this. The social media gurus can do this. Pick a lane. Now, as far as the demonetizing issue, that's a little bit horse of a different color. When they go to demonetizing, my suggestion is you better make a policy that is crystal clear on how your content creators and your partners on that platform are compensated. Because if it remains ambiguous, where there's reasonable doubt that you're engaging in discriminatory practices and censoring content creators under discriminatory auspices, yeah, that's going to be a problem. But to the social media platforms, you guys can straighten up your act. You are not the arbiters of what people get to see. That, oh, it's a private company. No, not when you engage in interstate commerce, you're not. If a content creator, they've got, the right, freedom of speech, okay. There's no guarantee that you got to be listened to. Nobody has to listen to you. If there's a content creator that everybody thinks is full of crap, don't click on their site. Simple enough, man. So freedom of speech, yeah, you can say what you want to say within the already defined boundaries, the cause to action, violence. That's already been established. But just because they say something that you disagree with or hurt your feelings, hurt feelings is not a crime. Never will be, should never be. Nah, you can't censor them. They've got no right to be heard. But if you're going to engage in monetary exchange, which you guys make money, the social media platforms make money through advertisers, that's interstate commerce. So straighten up your act so that the government does not have to get involved. They shouldn't be involved. Just straighten up your act. All right. Firearms. Same thing goes. Firearm retailers, you hear noise, you read articles, I read articles about banks wanting to disallow firearms manufacturers, retailers, disqualifying from participating in banking services that other commercial customers have access to. Can't do it, man. That's discriminatory, and it affects interstate commerce. So the banks are also, this stuff's going on. So there's my take on the, civil rights in the 21st century. These large corporations are using their money and influence to violate others' civil rights. Can't do it. Not on my watch. Can't do it.